March in Chicago carried that strange feeling between winter and spring. The snow had melted, but the cold wind from the lake still cut through the streets. That evening, Ethan Parker, a self-made millionaire, stepped out of his black Mercedes. In his left hand, a bouquet of white peonies. In his coat pocket, a small velvet box with a ring. On his face, a calm, confident smile. Tonight, he was going to propose. The restaurant ahead, North Star, glowed warmly with soft golden lights and quiet jazz music. Inside, Sophia was already waiting. But just as Ethan approached the entrance, he stopped. Near one of the columns stood a woman. Dark blue coat, long dark hair, and one hand resting on her stomach. A stomach too large to ignore. Pregnant. Ethan stared. 1 second, 2, and then his heart dropped. It was Isabella, his past. Inessa? No, not anymore. Isabella, he whispered. She looked at him calmly. Hi, Ethan. Same voice, same presence, but something had changed. What are you doing here? He asked, confused. How did you know I'd be here? She gave a small, tired smile. Chicago isn't that big, if you know where to listen. His phone vibrated. Sophia, I'm inside, waiting for you. Love, don't be late. He stared at the message and didn't reply. We need to talk, Isabella said quietly. No tears, no anger, just truth. They moved to a bench under a streetlight. Ethan stayed standing. Isabella sat down slowly, one hand still on her belly. How far along? He asked. 7 months. His mind raced. 7 months. They had broken up 8 months ago. A heavy silence fell. Isabella, are you saying... I'm not saying anything, she interrupted calmly. I'm showing you. She handed him a paper, medical report, clinic details, dates, and one line that made everything stop. Father, Ethan Parker.
That doesn't prove anything, he said coldly.
You could have written any name. I could have, she nodded, but I didn't. She looked straight into his eyes. There's a prenatal DNA test. You can know the truth before the baby is born. Why now? He asked. Why today? For the first time, her voice softened. Because I found out you're proposing tonight. Silence. I thought I could do this alone, she said. I didn't want you to stay out of guilt. A pause. But if I stayed silent today, it would be worse later for everyone. His phone rang. Sophia calling. He looked at it and declined. First time ever. I'm not asking you to come back, Isabella said quietly. I'm asking you to know the truth before you make a decision. Minutes later, Ethan walked into the restaurant. Perfect posture, calm face, like nothing happened. Sophia smiled brightly when she saw him. Beautiful, elegant, confident. Finally, she said softly. Sorry, work. He sat down. Everything looked normal, but it wasn't. He didn't touch his wine. His hand under the table kept clenching. The ring was still in his pocket, but now it felt heavy. At one moment, he glanced outside. The bench was empty. Isabella was gone, but the bouquet of white peonies was still there, alone. That night, Ethan didn't propose. The next morning, exhausted, he went to his best friend, Daniel Brooks. After listening carefully, Daniel said something unexpected. 3 weeks ago, Sophia came to me. Ethan froze. She asked how to legally avoid fatherhood before a child is born. Silence.
She said it was for a friend, but I didn't believe her. Now everything had changed. Not just the past, not just the future, but the present. For the first time in years, Ethan Parker didn't know what to do. The clinic smelled of antiseptic and silence. Ethan Parker sat in the waiting room, staring at the floor. For the first time in years, he wasn't in control. No business strategy, no clear decision, just uncertainty. Across from him, Isabella sat quietly, one hand resting on her belly, 7 months pregnant, and maybe carrying his child. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to say, not until the truth arrived. "Mr. Parker?" The nurse's voice cut through the silence. Ethan stood up. "This'll be quick," she said. "Just a blood sample." He nodded. Simple. Too simple for something that could change his entire life. 3 days later. Those were the longest 3 days Ethan had ever lived. He didn't go to the office. He ignored calls. Even Sophia's messages became shorter, colder. Something was breaking, and he felt it. On the 3rd day, his phone rang. Unknown number. "This is Dr. Harris from North Medical Center. Your test results are ready." A pause. "You should come in." That sentence didn't sound neutral. It sounded heavy. An hour later, Ethan was sitting in the doctor's office. The envelope was on the table, sealed, final. "Would you like me to explain the results?" the doctor asked. Ethan shook his head. "No." His hand moved slowly. He opened the envelope. His eyes scanned the page, and then he froze. Probability of paternity, 0%. Silence. Complete silence. The world didn't crash. It didn't explode. It just stopped. Ethan looked up slowly. "That's impossible," he said quietly. The doctor remained calm. "The test is highly accurate. There's no biological connection." No biological connection. No child. No responsibility. No past coming back. Everything should have been simple again. But it wasn't. Because in that exact moment, Ethan didn't feel relief. He felt something else. Something darker. Doubt. That evening, he called Isabella. "We need to meet." She arrived 20 minutes later. Same coat, same calm face. But this time, Ethan was different. He didn't sit. He didn't soften his voice. "The test says I'm not the father." Silence. Isabella didn't react immediately. She just looked at him. Then, slowly, she sat down. "That's not possible," she said quietly. "It is," he replied, placing the paper on the table. 0%. She stared at it, long, carefully, as if trying to find a mistake. "There must be an error," she whispered. "No," Ethan said sharply. "There's no error." A pause. "Or you lied." That word changed everything. For the first time, something in Isabella's expression broke. Not anger, not panic, but pain.
Deep and real. "I didn't lie." "Then explain it." She looked down at her hands, then back at him, and said something he never expected. "Because you're not the only one who could be the father." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Ethan leaned back slowly. Now it made sense. Or at least, it should have. "You weren't sure?" he said. "No," she replied honestly. "I wasn't." That honesty hit harder than any lie. "Then why my name?" he asked. "Because you were the only one who mattered." Another silence, but this time it was different. Ethan stood up, slowly, cold. "So you decided to show up, ruin my life, without even knowing if it was true?" "I came to tell you the truth," she said quietly. "No," he interrupted. "You came to protect yourself." She didn't answer, because part of it was true. Ethan grabbed his coat. This was a mistake. He turned and walked away without looking back. That night he called Sophia. "Let's meet." Same restaurant, same table, but a completely different night. Sophia smiled when she saw him, but this time he didn't smile back. "I know about the lawyer," he said immediately. Her smile froze. Daniel told me everything. Silence. For a few seconds, Sophia said nothing. Then she leaned back and sighed. So, now you know. No denial, no surprise, just acceptance. You knew about her, Ethan said. Yes. You knew she was pregnant. Yes. Each answer like a quiet blow. And you were already planning what to do? Sophia looked him straight in the eyes. I was planning for reality. That sentence was colder than anything Isabella had said. I wasn't going to let your past destroy our future, she continued. I was protecting us. Ethan stared at her, and suddenly everything became clear. Two women, two truths, two different kinds of honesty. One came with uncertainty, but told the truth. The other came with certainty, but planned behind his back. Ethan stood up, again. Same movement, different meaning. I was going to propose that night, he said quietly. Sophia's eyes widened slightly. But now, a pause. I'm glad I didn't. And he walked away. Outside, the cold Chicago wind hit his face, sharp, real. For the first time in days, Ethan felt something clear. Not relief, not happiness, but clarity. The child wasn't his. The past was over, and the future was no longer what it used to be. But deep inside, one question still remained. If the child wasn't his, then whose was it?